everyone, welcome to my channel where I discuss all things human design. On today's episode, I'm super excited to share about the root energy center and all of the gates found within it. I have received countless requests to go over the gates and the energy centers, so I thought it would be fun to break this apart and go over each energy center and the gates within it through a series of videos. So if you're interested in learning all about the gates and the energy centers in a way that seems applicable to everyday life, then please don't forget to hit that subscribe button as I put out 2 new videos each week, and for the next few weeks, one of those videos is going to pertain to an energy center. If you've gotten this far in the video and you have no idea what human design is, I've linked several resources in the description box below where you can learn more about your human design type for free. In human design, there are 9 energy centers, and the root is one of 2 pressure centers. Our pressure centers are the root as well as the crown, which is the top triangle at the chart, and you can think of them as a sandwich, kind of a pressure sandwich. If you have a defined root, then you may find that you operate really well under pressure, and that in order to get motivated in the workplace, you might actually enjoy an environment that is high pressure. Versus if you have an undefined root, you might actually not operate well under pressure, and you might feel whatever your not self theme is if you're under pressure. So for example, I'm a generator, and if I'm feeling frustrated, it might come from me being in a situation that feels like I'm under a lot of pressure. That's when my not self theme comes through, whenever I'm not aligned. And that's just one example as someone with an undefined root. If you're listening to this and you're curious, what makes something undefined or defined, basically in each of our energy centers, we have different gates. All of these gates will always be the same across every person's human design chart. However, some of us will have these highlighted or defined. We'll have certain gates that define our chart. So for example, they will appear as hanging gates. If you have gate 41, which is the first number that you'll see there, the first gate at the bottom of the root on the right hand side, then you will see that there will be this line. It will either be in black or red, meaning that it's in your design side or your personality side. Personality is in black, located on the right side of the chart, and design is in red, located on the left side of the chart. And you will have sometimes even this in stripes, meaning black and red, which basically indicates that you have that gate in planets or positions in your chart that are in your design as well as your personality. Now that was a little bit of a tangent. I should warn you, this is totally unscripted and I am prone to tangents with my wide open throat. Basically, for simplicity, a hanging gate is kind of like a plug that is not plugged in. And it becomes plugged in when the opposite hanging gate connects with it. So if you have a 41 hanging gate, but you also have the 30 located in the solar plexus, which is that right side triangle, and it's connected, then you have what's called a channel. A channel forms when 2 gates come together and they essentially plug in and then define both the root and the solar plexus. This is just one way to look at it. You can look at other gates in your chart. If you have, for example, a gate 38 in your root, and then you have the 28 highlighted in your spleen, which is the left side triangle, then this will form also a channel. And you can think of it as 2 gates come together, they plug in, and you will highlight, or you will have a defined root as well as spleen energy center. The third thing to take into consideration here is also how your energy shows up in the environment around others. For example, if you have a gate 41 and that's defined, but you have an open solar plexus, but then somebody comes into your environment and they have a defined solar plexus, or even maybe they don't have a defined solar plexus, but they have that gate 30, that plugs in and then highlights both your root energy center, if that was not defined prior, as well as your solar plexus. Hopefully that made sense. You can think of the hanging gates as these plugs that are not plugged in, and then the channels as sort of those energetic plugs that plug in and create a definition. That was an extremely roundabout way of explaining things, but I hope that made sense. Let me know in the comments below how this resonates, if you have a defined root and if you enjoy pressure, versus if you have an undefined root and you find that being under pressure feels like a lot. Whenever we have something undefined in our chart, it doesn't mean that we cannot operate under pressure. It's just that you might not necessarily be designed to operate under pressure for long periods of time. Now, one last thing I do want to chat about when it comes to the root is that it governs our adrenals. So specifically when you're out of alignment and it pertains to the root, you might find that you're experiencing adrenal fatigue and just overall exhaustion. This is not medical advice. This is simply based on the study of human design. So always consult your doctor when you are looking for more advice on your adrenals. And with that, let's get into the gates. The way I describe the gates in human design is kind of like characteristics that each of us have a variety of. We all have unique gates, and it's really the gates and the channels that make over billions of combinations, billions of different combinations of human design charts. While there are 5 human design types, there are actually billions of combinations based on the different gates and arrangements that we each have as individuals. This is really what makes us so unique. And these characteristics are interesting to learn about both for ourselves, but also for others. When we're learning about the people in our environment and how they show up and how we show up, it can really be fascinating and paint such a big picture. And with that mentioned, just because I'm going over the gates, this does not necessarily paint the full picture. I always say that there is so much in a human design chart, and this is again not even scratching the surface of the depth that this work goes into. I'm just going to be going over today the gates found in the root energy center, and I'll be starting with the 41, which is located on the right side, and you can follow along the 41, and I'll just be continuing up from there. 41 is a really interesting gate to have in that it's sort of this natural artistic ability. And I'm not saying that if you have the 41, you're naturally a painter or that you're an artist. I'm saying that the way you solve things or go about solutions may be artistic. So for example, the way you fold your socks in your sock drawer, or the way that you solve a math problem or set up an Excel spreadsheet, you might have an artistic way of doing that or an unconventional way of solving that. It's a really interesting gate because some of the gates, as you'll see, are really hard to grasp, and the purpose of this video is to try to give my best explanation in a way that is relatable. So if I look at the gate 41 from the perspective of our real life experience, I might think about, how does someone with a gate 41 show up when it comes to getting dressed or folding their clothes or cooking, things like that, that maybe usually have one way of a common way of operating, and then the gate 41, someone with this energy might operate a little bit differently, a little bit more artistically. Another important thing to mention is that we are constantly experiencing all of the gates. The sun is always transiting through different gates as well as the moon, and even if you don't have the gate 41, you might experience the gate 41 as a collective. And if you want to learn more about the sun and moon transits, I actually put out weekly journal prompts on human design based on these, which you can find linked below as well. All right, so that is gate 41. The next gate I'm going to be speaking about is the gate 39. The gate 39 is one of my favorite ones to discuss with clients because I don't personally have the gate 39, and I think it's quite funny. Something to mention here is that every gate has its sort of alignment and non-alignment. I don't like to think in terms of positive and negative because I really believe there is no positive or negative or compatible or not compatible in human design. There simply is how our energy shows up. The 39 is known for the ability to provoke from a place of consciousness. However, when we're young, we don't know what that means, and we might just provoke for the sake of provoking. An example of this could be that you're on the playground as a child and you tell another child that their sweater is ugly. You think you're doing them a favor, and you don't understand why the teacher is making you apologize. You feel like, why am I having to apologize for something that I think is true, and you didn't really necessarily think it through that this might hurt that person's feelings. However, on the flip side, on the more aligned side, when it comes to being able to have those difficult conversations with friends, you're the friend that's really able to get through to someone that might need to have that difficult conversation. An example that I recently came across was I was working with two partners, two co-founders, and they had split the job of laying off their employees. And the partner that had the gate 39 found that they were really able to lay off the employee from a place of consciousness and have the employee understand that it wasn't really their choice, that they had no other choice, and that they really hope that the employee understands this. And so they were really able to get through. Versus the other partner had more difficulty. They did not have the gate 39, and they found it really hard to have this conversation and lay off employees. And just by discovering this part in their human design, as well as other aspects of their human design charts, they were able to decide that the other partner would be responsible for layoffs. Let's say you have someone in your group of friends who's really struggling with cigarette addiction and smoking. And usually when they're told that they shouldn't smoke, they know already that they shouldn't smoke, and they're very defensive and they don't like to talk about it, and so you feel uncomfortable. However, those with the gate 39 might be the friend that friend needs to hear from, that they are able to actually let them know, like, hey, I see you have this addiction, I want to help you through this, and they're able to speak to this from a place of consciousness, which allows that person to actually be open to listening. Gate 39 is extremely interesting and important. All of the gates are important in their own way, but that's just a breakdown of what the gate 39 may appear to be like if you have it or if you know someone that has it. Now, the gate 19 is also, I'm going to keep saying it, all of these gates are so interesting, but the gate 19 is literally knowing what others need before they know they need it. And how frustrating is it when you hear about a friend wanting to apply to medical school, but they don't think that they could qualify, and you literally see them in medical school, or you have a friend who is amazing at singing, but they never want to go for that audition because they don't believe in themselves, and you literally see them on stage and at the next competition winning that competition. The 19 is interesting because it's like, you know what people need before they know they need it. However, it isn't our duty to force someone into knowing. Similar to human design, I spent a lot of time, I have the gate 19, where I would want to share about human design with everyone I came across, but then I realized not everyone is ready yet for this wisdom. And so I had to take a step back and realize that sometimes I'm going to meet people who just don't want to learn about human design yet, and that's perfectly okay. That we're all on our own journeys and we don't need to force people into seeing what we see. What's important here is that we don't get ourselves into codependent relationships where we think that we need to be there to help others. In romantic relationships, for example, oftentimes we think we can fix our partners, and the reality is that our partner needs to realize what needs to be changed on their own. We shouldn't find ourselves coping or being in a relationship where we're thinking that we're going to change someone, because that change needs to come from within, and no amount of telling someone what to do is necessarily going to change them. The next gate I'm going to speak about is 52. And the 52, as I look in my notes, it really has to do with sort of the calm before the storm. As a generator, I have the gate 52, and this is really interesting because so many times I will, let's say I leave a job opportunity and I know that I should go out and apply for more jobs or have a backup plan, but it's all about sitting and waiting things out and not necessarily listening to the societal conditioning of getting a head start and jumping into the next role. It's really about sitting back and resisting that need to put pressure on myself to jump for the next opportunity, and know that if I can just stay calm, if I can just get quiet, and if I can just let go of my ego and the voice inside my head telling me what to do, that's where the magic happens. 52 is resisting that need to make a move just because. The gate 60, again, I think of it as quite a funny one. So we had the 39, which is provoking from a place of consciousness. And the 60 is really this ability to always get through different blocks that come up. The ones that have the gate 60 are the ones that see the airplane still on the ground, and even though the time has passed and the gate has closed, nothing is going to stop them. They're going to figure out a way to get on the airplane. I don't have the gate 60, so this was really interesting when I was working in my masterclass and working with clients to verify this. So as someone without a gate 60, I've gotten to the airport many times where I see the plane on the ground but there's only 8 minutes until it takes off, and they tell me there's this rule that if it's not before the 10 minutes, I can't get on the plane. And I simply just turn around and think, okay, well, where else can I go? Or when is the next plane? Or how else can I get to where I'm going? And someone with a 60, they literally would figure out a way to get on that airplane. They would charm their way in, they would figure out what they need to say, they would figure out what they need to do. Those with the gate 60 always push through. And the stories were so funny when I was sharing this with my masterclass, because hearing that feedback of what it's been like for them to have that gate 60 and how they really just have zero tolerance for anything getting in the way. If there's a will, there's a way. And that is the quote that I would use if I had to describe gate 60. The next gate I'm going to talk about is gate 53, and gate 53 is very similar to gate 52, and it's also about that pressure to start, that feeling that they need to get going and they need to do what society says rather than just take a break and let everything fall into place. And I would say the big difference between gate 52 and gate 53 is that 53 is all about just having and acknowledging that pressure of anxiety that comes up to start, and just letting it be and letting go. Where gate 52 is more about that calm before the storm. It's sort of that's understanding that when you just relax, that's when things come through. Where gate 53 is a little bit more active. It's a little bit more, not getting in your own way, not starting because society says you need to start and then you realize that you're not on the right path. So if we use the work example, a 53 that's not aligned might start a role right after finishing a job because society says we always need to have something lined up. But actually, if they had just waited and they didn't feel that anxiety, that active energy inside of them, and they found a way to release that active energy in a way that was perhaps maybe through physical exercise or through talking it out, or different aspects of their design chart that might have more insight on that, then they might have taken that time to not jump into that role and really discover what it is they're looking for and find a job that's even more aligned. The next gate I'm going to talk about is gate 54, and gate 54 are those really independent friends, those friends that never want to be a burden on others, that can always do things on their own, that are always fine on their own, but then sometimes come to me as clients trying to figure out why they aren't finding their ideal relationship or partnership. And it's always so funny because when I ask them, when was the last time you allowed yourself to receive, that you stopped giving and you just allowed yourself to receive? And oftentimes they can't really recall a scenario. And so when I'm working with a client that has the gate 54, I actually encourage them to receive in a way that does not make them feel obligated to continually give. For example, if a gate 54 receives a compliment, not feeling like they need to say right away a compliment to the other person. As humans, we often put pressure on ourselves to, if someone says, hey, your hair looks great, we immediately feel like we need to say, I love your shoes, or where'd you get that shirt? And so I encourage that gate 54, those with the gate 54, to just accept the compliment, say thank you, allow yourself to receive and feel what it's like to receive. As humans, we love giving, but then actually receiving is quite difficult. And so the alignment here is realizing that you're here to learn just as everybody else is, and that by not allowing others to give to you that knowledge, or by shutting out and being so independent, you're not getting the full picture, you're not reaching your full potential. So how can you let go of that and let others in? That's the gate 54. The gate 38 is also, I always am saying, a funny one in the sense that you actually thrive in emergency situations, especially if you have a defined route. You might find that you thrive under pressure, and when things are chaotic and everyone's running around, it's like you are in your best place. An example I use often is, let's say you're a +1 at a wedding and the electricity goes out and everybody's running around, nobody knows what to do, but you've got a defined route, you've got the gate 38, perhaps you have a line 5 in your profile, and you just sort of go into your own system and you're like, okay, I can solve this problem, I can get the electricity back on. Maybe people even expect that you can do this, and it just feels so natural for you to be operating in places that are a little bit chaotic or unsteady. It's actually in alignment for you. And a lot of people will learn about this and think, well, I don't want that. I don't want chaos in my life. I want things to be calm and grounded. And that's perfectly fine. We all have different life experiences, and nothing is hard in stone when I describe things in human design, because we're all going through the experiment together. We're all going through this journey together. The basis of human design is that we're all part of a hologram. We're just different angles of that. And as I mentioned with the transits, we're all experiencing the different gates and their energy throughout the calendar year. Every week it's changing based on the sun, and every day it's actually changing based on the moon transit. So that is the gate 38. Last gate I'm going to talk about today is gate 58. And gate 58 is the ability to really spot what's missing. And this can be really interesting in that you're able to notice what's missing immediately. However, sometimes this can hold you back when you feel like there's always something missing. So having that healthy balance of realizing, okay, something is missing from the program or from the project or from the event, but it's okay, and how can you let go of it? Also, inviting others to help you when something is missing. For example, especially for my non-energy types that are already sometimes very detail-oriented, you might notice that flowers are missing at a wedding, that you're the event planner and there are no flowers at the wedding. You get there a few hours early and you're like, oh my gosh, we forgot to order flowers. What do we do next? You might take it upon yourself, especially if you have that gate 54 of independence, where you go and you get flowers for the wedding. However, the whole time you might be experiencing your not self theme because you are doing it all on your own and you really could use an extra hand. When you have the gate 58 and you spot something missing, don't be afraid to ask others to help you, to delegate if you're a manifestor, to respond if you are a generator, and let people know, hey, we need to get flowers, who can come with me to help pick up these flowers? To actually invite and share with others that flowers are missing if you're a projector, and if you're a reflector, to realize this and again, let people know and bring people together to help. It's important to also have that awareness that if you have the gate 58 and you have a tendency to always spot what's missing, to see how this shows up and to understand if you're letting your life be run by this and you feel like there's something incomplete all the time, or if you're able to let go. So that was a very quick rundown of the gates found within the Root Energy Center. I have a lot more to share on this. There's a whole world in the gene key world and amino acids, and there's so much to share, but I don't want to overwhelm in one video. And as you guys know, this is unscripted and could go on forever if I don't stop myself. So with that, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something about yourself or those around you and about the gates. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I do plan to put out more videos on the energy centers and cover all of the gates. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button as I put out 2 new videos each week, and I appreciate you so much and your time.